Okay, look. Something has got to change. Someone needs to step in, intervene, because the marketing for movies have just been completely wrong. In terms of all the movies that came out so far in 2015, Crimson Peak is by far the worst marketed movie of the year. Crimson Peak comes from writer-director Guillermo del Toro, and in this film we follow Edith, and she meets a tall, sharp, handsome businessman, Thomas Sharp, who sweeps her off her feet, and they get married and move to this creepy mansion out in the middle of nowhere with his sister Lucille. But as soon as Edith arrives, she starts seeing ghosts and weird things start happening, and she starts to question not only the house, but her relationship with Thomas. Now, going into Crimson Peak, this was, without a shadow of a doubt, my most anticipated horror movie of 2015. The trailers for this movie looked amazing. It looked beautiful and lush and creepy and intense and scary, and I was just like, yes, give it to me and give it to me. And walking out of this movie, you guys, I loved it. I loved it. I fell in love with this movie in every frame. But this movie is not a horror movie, and I think that is a crucial aspect to this film on whether or not you're going to like this movie or not, because the marketing of this film is one of the biggest lies I've seen all year. It is not a haunted house movie that's going to make you jump, and Guillermo del Toro has been trying his hardest to, promote this film as it really is. Crimson Peak is a gothic romance that plays like a dark, twisted, romantic fairy tale that mixes around with different genres, including horror. Now, while this movie isn't a straight-up horror film, it does feel at times a love letter to the genre. The way it sort of plays off of horror conventions and tropes and stuff like that. He inserts it in there, but he does it in such a way that I felt like he was playing tribute to it. When you're reviewing a Guillermo del Toro movie, you cannot not talk about the visuals, because this movie is visually amazing. I mean, the detail that's in this movie is so lush and alive. It just comes alive with every frame. Every frame feels like this detailed and rich painting that spent hours to craft, and just the way that the camera moves and the cinematography in this film and the way that he makes this house come alive in his visuals and the performances in this film play alongside the grand visuals and filmmaking that's with it. I mean, everyone in this movie is phenomenal. So detailed, so alive, so enriched in all these different ways. But in my opinion, it's Jessica Chastain who knocks it out of this park. Her performance is so stiff and cold and hollowed, and every now and then you see that break and you see her character and you see the increments that's going on. She's really creepy and tense throughout this film. And the ending to this movie, you guys, is so fantastic. I feel like it's the ending that a lot of people thought the entire movie was going to be, and I love the intensity in the reactions that each character had. I mean, there's a moment where Jessica Chastain is running. You can just see the menacing look on her face. Now, in terms of faults, I would say that the movie is a little thin on substance, not meaning. I think there's a lot of meanings to grab out of Crimson Peak, but I do think it's thin on substance in terms of story. Now, I'm perfectly fine with a thin storyline, and as grand and magical and beautiful as this movie is, I will say that I was actually really enjoyed the thin storyline, and I liked the simplicity of what was going on. But I think what I'm talking about thin and the lack of substance is in certain characters, certain developments. For instance, Edith's mother. She plays a major role in Edith's life, but I never really felt that. I never felt that development. I would have liked to learn a little bit about her mother other than the fact that she died. Look, you guys, I feel like if you can go in and accept the fact that this is not a horror movie, I think you are going to love this movie. And I would actually recommend Crimson Peak as being a film for people who do not watch horror movies but want to get into it. I think it's a good segue, good sort of entry into the horror genre type of ordeal, because it's not particularly a horror movie, but it does have horror elements that I think is a good sort of building block to insert people into the genre so they can fall in love. as the score goes, I'm gonna give Crimson Peak a good solid 4 out of 5. So you guys, what did you think of Crimson Peak? Make sure to let me know in the comments section below. Let's talk about this film. And until next time, you guys, I'm the Slash Movie Viewer, and you guys have just been slashed.